Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Council President Rodriguez, council members, department heads, and residents of the City of Middletown. Welcome to the 2021 State of the City. We all agree that 2020 was a year like no other. The fact that we're doing this virtually tonight indicates that. I'm here tonight to let our residents know that we have responded to the challenges of this pandemic in the best way possible. We have done so by working together with our residents, our business leaders, our community service groups, federal, state, and county government leaders, and the network of social service agencies in the city. COVID hit New York State early and hard. Despite these devastating impacts, we continue to move Middletown forward and address the challenges facing our city. In my State of the City last February, I spoke in detail about many projects that were ongoing. It looked like 2020 would bring about so many positive changes in our city. Our management team put the city in a position to accomplish all our goals. Our financial position was strong, budget decisions prudent, and spending priorities were sound. We either met or were under the 2% tax cap for 9 straight years, while at the same time building our city reserves to over $11 million. Moody's, the financial rating company, improved our bond rating outlook last year. Then came the coronavirus. The COVID-19 pandemic caused multiple changes to city operations, including limiting access to City Hall and other public buildings. The state, nation, and the world were turned upside down. We began planning for the COVID response as early as February 2020. We knew something bad was happening, but no one knew the extent of what we were facing. The President of the United States was telling us it was a hoax. We knew better. I began daily briefings with our Emergency Management Coordinator, Jacob Tawil, and a team consisting of Chief Iwanchu, Maria Bruni, and Chief Lewis. I also updated all departments on a daily basis, constant communication with Council President Rodriguez, and even some communication with the Finance Chairman, Joe Massey, because of funding requirements. On March 3rd, Chief Iwanchu began contacting public agencies, such as the Warming Center, Honor, the Emergency Shelter, the Soup Kitchen, Thrall Library, and the Middletown School District, to identify what their projected needs were and how we could coordinate with them. Daily conference calls with the Governor's Office and County Executive Steve Newhouse began, and that enabled local government to receive up-to-date information as to what we were facing. We immediately closed down the senior programs, the Center of Activity for the Elderly, and the Recreation Department. Playground equipment was fenced off. We closed down all camps, swimming pools, and summer activities citywide. Our residents, while concerned, were very supportive of these moves. Quality of life projects like the opening of the Middletown Reservoir Trails, the Richard Woolslayer Ball Field off Monhagan Avenue, the expansion of Davidge Park to Ingrassia Road, the Heritage Trail from Goshen to East Main Street, some of which were under construction, were all put on hold when the state imposed stay-at-home rules. Many infrastructure projects, such as the Monhagan Water Main, the citywide ADA compliance program at traffic control intersections, the bus terminal, the court relocation, and the downtown revitalization initiative were all underway at that time, and all were put on hold. Then the nation found out what we here in New York were living through, that COVID was not a hoax. COVID continued to attack and devastate New York State. By April 1st, 2020, over 2,000 people passed away in New York State alone. While President Trump was whispering to reporter Bob Woodward that this virus was dangerous and airborne, he was telling Americans that it was not real. By this time, he had convinced many Americans that it was a hoax. On March 18th, Governor Cuomo signed the executive order mandating all but essential services and essential businesses to reduce their workforce density by 50% and have some employees work from home. The next day, Governor Cuomo reduced that workforce density to 25%. On March 20th, orders were given for all non-essential businesses to close. This was statewide by the governor. Elective surgeries were postponed. Governor Cuomo imposed a moratorium for residential evictions, along with a rent relief program, as he took on a national profile in addressing this virus. City departments were required to submit plans to my office that would outline how each department would operate under New York State guidelines, identifying essential and non-essential personnel. Working with department heads, we put together a workforce plan that would ensure the delivery of essential city services. We mobilized quickly, providing PPE for our emergency responders and employees that dealt with the public. We did allow for some work-at-home details also. Middletown is a city of 28,000 people, densely populated in 5 square miles. We are a city mostly of working-class people, many employed in healthcare, grocery stores, service industries, and government. As our case count grew and we were designated as a yellow zone microcluster, our residents still went to work, despite jeopardizing their own safety to make sure that our stores were open and that government was functioning. Nursing homes were staffed. Police, fire, snow removal, sanitation, water, sewer, other local services, and so much more were able to stay in service. We imposed a mask mandate in November with very little pushback and much cooperation. This makes me wonder why it never happened nationally under Donald Trump. We do not know how many people suffered from the lack of leadership on the national level. However, I believe it would have made a huge difference. That's why I need to give credit to our management team and our county and state leaders, our employees and residents, for how we reacted as a city government and a community to this crisis. Our employees have redefined themselves, their duties. Their commitment to the safety and well-being of Middletown residents is incredible, and they did their jobs. As the pandemic went on, the economic impacts of COVID, such as business closures and job losses, were taking their toll. By June, 2.5 million people filed an initial unemployment claim after the shutdowns began. The Federal CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, also known as CARES, provided direct aid and economic assistance for American workers and families. Thank you to Governor Cuomo, Senator Schumer, and Gillibrand, along with Congressman Maloney, for fighting for this funding. This act provided assistance to local government as we confronted the COVID crisis. We now need them to continue the fight for state and local aid in the new stimulus bill, and they are. Under the guidance and direction of Economic Development Director Maria Bruni, in 2020, the city received $542,740 in CARES grants toward COVID-related activities. We set up briefings for the public on local COVID issues. The city utilized our website, Channel 20, and social media to convey daily messaging to our residents in coordination with our city clerk, John Nunchuk. We started creating a PowerPoint presentation on a weekly basis to keep our residents informed about local impacts. We wanted you to have as much information as possible. This included providing information to small business owners that would assist them in complying with constantly changing state guidelines. We instituted a deferment for small business loans along with the Section 108 loans. A group of Mid-Hudson mayors started meeting weekly by Zoom to discuss issues directing and affecting cities. This was coordinated by Pattern for Progress. These discussions continue today. It is in time of crisis that government must function at its best. City Hall, the Recreation Department, the Senior Center, and all government buildings, although closed to the public, must still address the growing needs in our community. Demand at the soup kitchen, the St. Margaret's Guild, increased to 13,000 meals a month from the previous 3,000 a month. A huge increase for a city of 28,000 people. People were now coming from all over the area, not just the Middletown area. People were coming from Wallkill, Wawayanda, Deer Park, and more for assistance. Working with Maria Bruni, we moved quickly to assist them with funding, appropriating $10,000 of CDBG funds with an additional $10,000 of CARE funds later in the year. These monies were appropriated by the Common Council. Beginning in March and running through August, the city collaborated with the Middletown School District to distribute lunches throughout our community. It was reported at our last meeting by Alderman Burr that they distributed 90,000 meals in advance of the recent school recess to ensure that kids had meals during the school break. Middletown Police Department, Recreation Department, and Mid-City Transit employees assisted school district personnel in distributing meals for school-age children throughout this pandemic. We identified another group in need, our seniors. Remember the days when getting basic items, milk, bread, even toilet paper was so difficult. Lines at supermarkets, special shopping hours had to be created for seniors at 6 a.m. in the morning. Rationing of products and huge demand for many products made it almost impossible for some seniors to get these basic needs. Our senior center employees, under the direction of Julissa Sierra, made phone contact with over 3,000 seniors registered with their program. These calls identified those seniors in need, and we began home deliveries along with other assistance to homebound seniors. We worked with local grocery stores, ShopRite, Market Fresh, and Garcia's Market, all kind enough to set aside products for this program. We also provided over 4,000 rides for seniors with our shuttle bus program, a much-needed service during COVID. As community needs grew, the Recreation Department created family care packages, and they took over the responsibility of coordinating the delivery, along with the help of Chief Iwanchu and the Middletown Police Department. We literally had police members delivering product to homebound people. This program began with funding from the community and supplemented by $10,000 in CARES Act funds. So many people called asking what they could do for our city. Donations came from residents, former residents, businesses, churches, the Middletown School District, and the Salvation Army, all people who cared about the welfare of our residents. I need to say thank you to all who contributed. Every dollar went directly to purchasing items for families in need. The range in contributions went from $5 to $5,000. People gave what they could. Kids were sending in a few dollars from their savings. Seniors with needs offering to help others with greater needs. A childhood friend of mine from St. Joseph's School called and sent a $500 check. People like Andy Justin of Pine Bush, doesn't live in Middletown. Andy saw the need and wanted to help. He sent a check for $5,000, a huge act of kindness. But every single donation, every amount was appreciated and given from the heart. The program has served close to 400 families, with deliveries continuing on a monthly basis. Under the direction of Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Chris Brinkerhoff, and Nicole Sarakis, the program director, this program continues to operate as we are here today. And again, serving close to 400 families on a monthly basis. While our first priority is safety of our residents, we did our best to provide some means of enjoyment at the same time. Eventually, we were able to reopen the playgrounds after the purchase of steam units to sanitize each park on a daily basis. We will use this equipment at other public venues like the Paramount Theater and park benches when they reopen. As you can see, the role of local, small city government was changing because of COVID. As we approached the winter months, the warming station operated by the Greater Middletown Interfaith Council became front and center. For the past several years, the warming station has been located in the basement of St. Paul's Church. Due to COVID and the church's limited space, this location was no longer suitable. Unfortunately, one of Middletown's greatest volunteers, a staple at the warming center, a man who meant so much to so many people in this community, Dave Bechtel, passed away due to COVID. The GMIC worked vigorously to find an alternate location. When unable to do so, Rabbi Rubenstein and Temple Sinai stepped in. While the deal was for 1 year, the relocation of this facility into a mostly residential area drew the ire of many who lived there. They were very critical of the process and what they believed to be lack of transparency. Once it became public, we had so many angry and disappointed neighbors descend upon City Hall, demanding that we block this from coming to their neighborhood. The GMIC historically has provided this service in the downtown area, so this was a big change for not only the GMIC, but for these neighborhoods. While I applaud the rabbi and the temple for stepping up, I believe that the residents of that area had legitimate concerns about potentially changing the character of their mostly residential neighborhood. The city recognized the neighbors' concerns. We also had concerns that COVID may still be around next winter. We had an obligation to assist and protect the neighborhood, the volunteers, and the clients of the warming station. We worked very closely with Pastor Rustico of GMIC and Rabbi Rubenstein to pursue an alternate location. They were very cooperative. Eventually, we identified a city-owned property, the former Mulberry Senior Center, located at 8 Mulberry Street, adjacent to St. Paul's, as a potential permanent site. We are using CARES Act and city funds to bring the building up to code. I was hoping to have GMIC occupy the building as early as January, but due to a heating system required overhaul, we did not meet that goal. The total project cost is approximately $300,000, funded by $250,000 of CARES funding, and then we went back to the Common Council. Alderman Green, Alderman Kleiner, and Alderman Massey were very supportive in appropriating an additional $50,000. The project was delayed by having only one bidder for the original bid request and for the renovation. The price tag of that one bidder was $885,000. That compared to our estimate from our architect of about $260,000. So that bid was unacceptable. We also had a delay in material, specifically the HVAC equipment. The bid was rejected, and the City Economic Development Office is administering the renovation. The Greater Middletown Interfaith Council has signed the lease, so this is going to come to fruition. Work has begun. We are hopeful that the project will move more quickly, much more quickly, as we go forward. While the role of local government changed because of COVID, so did other institutions. Middletown has been in discussions with the New York State Office of Court Administration for several years regarding the construction of new courtrooms. We have been pushing back because one estimate of up to $8 million plus construction was given to us. Other estimates were in the $5 to $7 million range. Keep in mind that city courts are no longer solely for city use and are not run by the city. New York State runs this system. They utilize the courts for other proceedings, like the regional drug court and other arraignments. Yet Middletown was being directed to shoulder this tremendous financial burden. We objected for many years. We used this chamber, the Common Council chambers, as the second courtroom to meet the second court mandate, and we made do. With technology, the requirements for the size of the courts are now changing. The city has reached an agreement on design with OCA, the Office of Court Administration, for a plan similar to that of which I put forward in 2015. At that time, we purchased the federal court on South Street using grant funds through Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther. That total grant was $2.7 million. $2.2 million was for the purchase, and $500,000 would go towards renovation. We are now able to move forward on this project with an estimated cost of under $3 million. I will be asking the Common Council to fund this project as soon as the final design is approved. I would also like to thank the Office of Court Administration for recognizing the changes in court operations and working with the City of Middletown in bringing about this project. In another public safety area, I would like to thank Chief Lewis, former chief of the Middletown Fire Department. Don was very dedicated to his job and serving the city residents, and he did a fine job. Over the years, I've considered Don a friend, and I think his legacy here as chief is a very positive one. With Don stepping aside, we also welcome our new fire chief, Nick Barber. Nick worked for me when he was 16 years old in a restaurant and comes from a family of Middletown folks, a lot of Middletown ties on both sides, his dad and his mom. And Nick is very committed to doing a good job for our residents, and I look forward to working with him in 2021 and beyond. Police issues were also a major national focus in 2020. Excuse me. Our department, led by Chief Iwanchu, oversaw a 5% reduction in violent crime, a continuing trend. The killing of George Floyd in May during an arrest in Minneapolis sparked nationwide outrage and protests throughout the country. On June 12th, Governor Cuomo issued an executive order, the New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative. This order required local police agencies to develop a plan based on community input. This plan must address policies, procedures, practices, and deployment, including but not limited to the use of force. The 8-minute and 46-second video of George Floyd's murder resulted in rallies, protests, and other social gatherings throughout our city and throughout the country. Throughout the city, they were all peaceful. As the Times Hill Record reported on June 1st, Black Lives Matter protesters worked with the City of Middletown's elected officials and Chief Iwanchu to organize a protest marching down city streets. I was proud to join many city officials, Chief Iwanchu, and other members of the Middletown Police Department to condemn the actions in Minnesota. Hundreds of people came out to protest the death of George Floyd and to support the message of the organizers, Black Lives Matter, which is a call for change in police practices nationwide. And I agree. While Middletown has been way ahead of so many communities when it comes to operational integrity of the police department, we welcome the community involvement, the scrutiny, the opportunity to take objective look at our operations with respected members of the community and the public. This did result in some necessary changes. The most notable of these changes, of these proposals, was the recommendation to require police officers to wear body cameras. The city adopted and funded this guidance immediately with a price tag of $1.5 million over 10 years. I would like to thank my co-chair, Bishop Rollins, District Attorney Dave Hoovler, Chief Awanchu, and all the members of this commission who volunteered, and those in the public who contributed comments throughout the process. Along these same lines, this past Sunday, I joined with many in our community to celebrate Black History Month, Black Excellence, and was part of the virtual community celebration. It was an honor to listen and show respect to members of the community as they celebrate with tremendous pride the accomplishments as put forth by many of the local speakers. The program was an open mic, full of poem, comments, music, and the achievements of so many, both nationally and locally. I would like to thank and commend all involved in this 2-hour celebration, with special thanks to the 6 West Foundation, Fred Williams, a current member of the school board, and recognize the great work they are doing in our city. I am also happy to announce that we are participating with the Middletown School District and are supportive of their grant application that will allow the district to offer a national program called My Brother's Keeper. This program lays out 6 milestones that focus on equitable access to high-quality schools and programs. The city participation will include meetings with city officials and students learning firsthand governance and how they can get involved in our community, their community. This program is run by the school district, and as stated in the partnership agreement, this is an excellent opportunity for the city and the district to encourage mutual support and collaboration in the education of youth and to increase academic career readiness of boys and young men of color. You know, we have so many heroes amongst us. The doctors, nurses, medical staff, the hospital cleaners, from the hospital cleaners to the administrators, post office workers, and grocery store workers. All heroes who deserve our praise and our thanks. In fact, we joined with the town of Wallkill, and we did just that at Orange Regional during this pandemic, and we made other stops. Thank you again, and we cannot say it enough times. But this list must also include our local heroes here in the city, those who provide city services, police, fire, sanitation, city hall, parks, water, sewer, and so much more. For example, January and February has left us with significant snowfalls, and more is coming today. Our city workers are doing a tremendous job under these COVID conditions and restrictions. Despite blizzard conditions, they have been working round the clock to clear our streets. Sanitation is being picked up, and services are not missing a beat. To our city workers, many who came down with COVID, and if you look at the numbers, nearly 48% of the city workers were quarantined at one point during this past year, and I believe the number is 22 employees have suffered with COVID. All of you have stepped up to respond without hesitation to this pandemic, and I thank you. As you can see, our workforce has been busy. They've been busy providing services, but also busy working on the many capital projects that I mentioned earlier and were put on hold due to early pandemic reactions. Well, we never took our eyes off the ball in our post-COVID plans, and we continued to work on Middletown 2021. Work is continuing on the Davidge expansion, along with Woolslayer Field. On May 24th, we had the ribbon cutting for the Reservoir Trails. As you know, the trails consist of 8 miles of beautiful, challenging, yet walkable paths, 3 lakes, wildlife, and views that are a huge hit with residents and visitors. This walking area and the wildlife that call it home gave people some solace during this pandemic, during these times, and so many people continue to enjoy it today. Having this recreational asset at our doorstep, just minutes from downtown, is a great addition to our downtown and to our city. We are planning now to connect the Heritage Trail to the reservoir trails as we speak. Our capital project plan, a very aggressive plan from 2017 to 2024, continues to be a major focus of Commissioner Tawil. We have over $70 million in active projects as we rebuild Middletown. I spoke earlier of the new court facility. This will also allow for the expansion of police and city hall services. Currently, we have employees in the basements of both buildings, and this is unacceptable. So let me tell you what we're working on in addition to the courthouse and city hall expansion. We're also very focused. The administration has been very focused when it comes to protecting our drinking water. We know the price a community pays in dollars and health issues when things go wrong with your water system. The slide up is the Newburgh water, what went wrong in Flint and locally here in Newburgh. We know those stories and we're concerned about them. We were successful in obtaining $3 million for the acquisition of additional watershed property. And we used these funds to purchase the horse farm adjacent to Old Mill Beach, in which the Shawanga Kill runs through. A very important piece of property to protect our system. We are updating old infrastructure, which is necessary for sustainability of a community. We have begun construction on the 24-inch high-pressure water main that leads down Monhagan Avenue. We are also replacing the 12-inch water main installed in the late 1800s that currently runs through the future Woolslayer Field. The total cost of that project is nearly $4 million. It's 30% complete, and we are utilizing a $500,000 grant through New York State. We have also exhausted a New York State grant totaling $544,000 for the replacement of home services with lead. And this project, under the direction of Commissioner Tawil, was a huge success. The water tank project, a $5.5 million project that replaces 2 old tanks, is in the property acquisition stage. The city received $3 million in New York State grants towards this project, with a thank you again to Governor Cuomo and Assemblywoman Gunther. Many infrastructure projects are out of sight, but the more visible ones do catch our eyes. We have a citywide ADA-compliant curbs and sidewalks program, a sidewalk replacement, and a new sidewalk program. This grant, one of 3 for sidewalk replacement, totaled $3.6 million. This includes constructing new curbs and sidewalks from existing sidewalks on Dolston Avenue to the city line. This will greatly enhance pedestrian safety, ADA compliance, and the aesthetics on Dolston Avenue. It is opening up the south end of the city to more pedestrian traffic and hopefully more opportunities for businesses in this area. We have also approved and completed the planning and design stage of our citywide traffic operations. All citywide intersections, except one, will be upgraded with traffic lights that incorporate ADA signalized pedestrian crossings, sidewalks, and ramps, along with road reconstruction. Construction will begin in 2021 and continue through 2024. The total project cost for stages 1 and 2 is $21 million, and due to the efforts of Commissioner Tawil, 95% of this project will be funded through state and county and primarily state and federal monies, which are funneled through Orange County. The Heritage Trail construction Phase 2 from Hartley Road in Goshen has reached East Main Street. This section's completion date is late spring, and the total project cost is $6.8 million for this section. The total cost of the trail expansion, when going through the city, is about $12 million, all funded through the county and state and federal monies. The bus station, parking facilities, and trail connections, estimated to be a $4 million project, are funded by New York State DOT. We are finalizing the Middletown transportation section of the trail with Coach USA and the final route from East Main to Ingrassia Road. We are hopeful that this section will begin construction in 2021. I would like to acknowledge County Parks Commissioner James Brooks and the County Executive, Steve Newhouse, for working so closely with us on these two projects. They made it work after many years of delays. The cooperation between city and county leaders made the Heritage Trail extensions into Middletown a reality, and we're really looking forward to the impacts that this trail will have on our community. The anticipated trail project, in combination with the renovation of the bus terminal, has resulted in exactly what we had planned for, and that's called transit-oriented development. For example, this trail project brought about a project on Cottage Street. This project here is by Sal Vassapoli, a developer. He has renovated a vacant factory building into a mixed-use development of 24 apartments with 4,000 square feet of commercial space. The former Classy Leather Building, purchased for $3.5 million, proposed 54 market-rate apartment units, plus 30,000 square feet of commercial space. That project is now in front of the planning board. This is part of the downtown redevelopment plan to put feet on the streets by creating a downtown where people can live, work, and play. We have continued work on the Maple Hill drainage area, the stream improvements, and the bridge over Monhegan Brook, along with the Grand Street culvert. Bids have just been accepted. Funded with $3.5 million in New York Rising grants, the bridge portion will be completed, hopefully, in 2021. While we have been in the midst of this highly contagious pandemic, we continue to provide quality services to our residents. We will begin implementing the new sanitation pickup plan this summer, utilizing the automatic arm trucks. We continue to evaluate, improve, streamline, and modernize DPW operations for more robust and efficient operation. We have created a business model through the sale of water, sewer, and septic services that is now generating millions of dollars to help fund our capital plans. Spearheaded by Commissioner Tawil, in 2020, CPV revenue for gray water generated almost $1.3 million, while the septic haulers paid over $550,000 to the city. Amy's Kitchen is expected to bring in nearly $750,000 per year, plus hundreds of jobs. The Indigo deal with Orange County generating additional millions of dollars, along with adding up to 1 million gallons a day to our system, potentially, when fully developed. This long-term planning will stabilize our city's future. The wholesale value of 1 million gallons of water and sewer in the future for us is over $5 million a year. The Downtown Revitalization Initiative is nearing completion. Overseen by Commissioner Tawil and Director Bruni, while we took more time than anticipated because of COVID, the projects, I think we would all agree, are wonderful. Let me walk you through some of the work that is currently underway and near completion or has been completed, such as Festival Square, the new green infrastructure parking lots, and facade improvements. The facade program has brought back to life so many old buildings. As you drive down North Street, your eyes focus on the difference between yesterday and today on some special buildings. Related projects include building demolition to make way for street realignment and parking expansion, along with additional sidewalk and curb replacement. ADA-compliant pedestrian crossing signals at each intersection throughout the downtown, and of course, the foundation for the Heritage Trail extension into the downtown area has been laid. We continue to focus on the 4 tenets of a successful downtown: beautification, safety, sanitation, and promotion. This is what enticed Equilibrium Brewery to not only locate into our downtown, but then to expand onto South Street, investing an additional $3 million. Under the leadership of our Business Improvement Director, John Degnan, we have witnessed a transformation of the center core of our city. I would like to thank John for his many years of input, direction, his knowledge, and something that's really needed around here, his level-headedness, as we move forward in completing our downtown projects. The downtown business community, while suffering for many years, has made many incremental steps. And there have been many loyal people who have stayed with us throughout the downtown. This past year, we recognized Stephen Keeler, 35 years at Rock Fantasy, and we honored the retirement of Armando the Tailor, 40 years in downtown. And we said thank you to longtime business owners who closed this past year, such as the Winners Bracket. At the same time, we welcomed many new faces on North Street. And to those who patronize downtown, thank you for your patience throughout this extended period of construction. And those who haven't been downtown in a while, please give it a shot. You'll find many new businesses, and I think you'll be happy with the conditions. We have also taken this COVID downtime to make improvements to the Paramount Theater, the sound system, and the facade, along with parking improvements in that area. The Paramount will be back in operation in 2021. At the same time, while having a viable city center is important, we have had a major focus on reinforcing our strong neighborhood commitments throughout the city. We continue to utilize the federal home rehab program and grant programs to revitalize some of our neighborhoods. We also created our own home buyer program. Here we take vacant homes that we have taken back on taxes. We renovate them and sell them to pre-qualified buyers. We are on our 10th rehab, creating home ownership and revitalizing neighborhoods. This program will hopefully be expanded in 2021. Community relations are also important. Our police department neighborhood patrols have focused on building relationships between residents and police. The COVID birthday runs by police, fire department, and recreation really helped the kids get through this past year. And not only the kids, but their families. The city opened its new recreation campus on County Route 78. We reopened basically without kids and without programs. And we are in the process of selling the old one. I urge you to take a tour of the facility when reopened fully. You will be amazed by the facility and the programs offered by the City of Middletown for your kids. We also thought early about the census and how important it is for the City of Middletown. Caitlin McNamara, the producer of this, as I think you'll see a slide at the end, identifies her as the producer. But we were thinking ahead. We formed our local census count committee early. We had meetings with local groups, and we tried to provide the most accurate count possible to maximize our federal and state aid. As you know, one of our major revenue sources is sales tax, and that sales tax formula is based on the population in the city. So it's important for us to count everyone, and we'll know the results soon, but it won't be for lack of effort. And of course, holiday time, John Degnan, Maria, and their team pulled off a different type of holiday festival, but successful. We had successful tree and menorah lightings, a little bit different. And we are now expanding out of downtown as we got through the holiday seasons with a sidewalk replacement program. I had already mentioned the Dolson Avenue project, but we're also doing streets now contiguous to downtown, such as a large part of Wickham Avenue going up to Prince Street, Lower Highland, the West Main Street, Wickham area, and more, Wickham Avenue area and more. The council has expressed an interest in a sidewalk grant program that I had proposed last year, and I will be resubmitting one to them this spring. As you can see, COVID has demonstrated the need for government on all levels to be prepared for every scenario, provide basic services, even during a crisis, and we must look forward. We adjusted very quickly to the new demands of 2020. We transported people to the hospital. We assisted in setting up emergency housing for the homeless and supported our essential workers and our essential workforce by setting up an employee academic assistance program for school-age children. This allowed parents employed by the city in the capacity of fire department, police department, DPW, clerical, to comfortably send their kids to a program while they protected our community and delivered services. We provided meals and necessities to seniors and families in need, with the recreation and police personnel delivering packages monthly to the homes, along with other tasks. 2021 will bring with it the continuation of the redevelopment of the Middletown Community Campus as an educational and medical center. We will continue our efforts to revive the O&W building station, an iconic structure in our city, also very challenging due to many years of neglect and fires. Our economic development projects will move forward. Our city continues to grow, and our diversity continues to lead the way for continued success. Our city became more resilient in 2020, and I feel comfortable that as we bounce back in 2021, and we will, Middletown will continue to offer inclusive opportunities for all of our residents in a safe and sound environment. My thoughts and prayers go out to all who suffered a loss of a loved one during this pandemic. Almost everyone in my universe, and I'm sure yours, knows someone who passed away or became very sick due to this virus. We know that it is not a hoax, and we must continue to take it seriously. We have a governor who is very strong, has led us through this horrible year, and a new president, Joe Biden, who will lead us through 2021. As for the vaccine, I understand that it is difficult to get an appointment, especially for seniors and maneuvering on the websites. The City of Middletown is not in charge of the vaccine program. The federal and state governments are in charge of vaccine distribution. We continue to lobby for additional sites in the city while offering assistance to those who are having trouble signing up. Seniors can contact Mulberry House for assistance. The number is up on the board, and my understanding is they are very busy in offering this service. So please take advantage of it. In closing, we can all agree that we must keep our city clean and it must be safe. We, the elected leaders, must operate it in a financially responsible manner, and we are. We are proud of our kids, our school district's accomplishments, and we must create a climate that will allow business to thrive, and we are. That's the basic overall plan. With new development, new infrastructure, rebuilding neighborhoods, and other beautification plans, our residents can look forward to many positive outcomes in 2021. And people who come through and see what we have to offer in our city are very excited about it. I want to thank all of you who have been part of and continue to be part of Middletown's continued success story. All of us have chosen to live in this great community, to raise our kids here, to open a business here, or just visit. 2020 showed us what we are made of, and we all should be very proud on how our city, our school district, and our neighbors reacted. All of us look forward to getting our students back to school, our businesses back to work, and keeping our residents safe. And lastly, if able to do so, please take the vaccine. If you are medically cleared to do so, that is our way out of this whole crisis. Thank you, and God bless America.